Good morning, Nigeria. Happy New Year. Welcome. It's the Change a Life Show 2015. Hello, everybody in the studio. It's fantastic to be here. It's the beginning of a brand new year. We do this every year because together we want to stand to face a new year in hope, in purpose, to change our lives, to better our lives, to improve our future. This show is packed. I'm not going to waste a lot of time. The guest presenter with me on this show today is one of Nigeria's most beloved voices. I call him the man who foresaw Instagram. Before anybody thought of an all-glossy, all-picture magazine, Chief Dele Momodu thought of one. He's my guest presenter on the show this morning. Good morning.
Thank you, Funmi,
we all call you Bob
me on this show.
Fabulous to see you.
Thank you so much.
And it's a special show because you've seen him every year for 8 years. This show is emotional for me in a way because I don't know what I'll do with myself without him on this show. But life is a continuum. He has started, we would not be here without his support, not just as governor, but even when he was chief of staff and going forward. Somebody described me, and you see the person later on the show, as the best friend one can have. He's also the best friend for change in life. The governor of Lagos State, His Excellency Governor Babatunde Raji Fashola. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Funmi, and Happy New Year to Lagosians and Nigerians.
Right. I'm not going to introduce the last person first. I will take a short break. When we come back from the break, we are going to go straight into the conversation. We're going to have a lot of conversations on this show because we are talking about how to support our country, our military, our governments, our politicians, to build the sort of country we feel that we deserve. We're also going to talk about how Nigeria conquered Ebola and how we can strengthen our health system. We're going to talk with all the people who are making changes, particularly corporate Nigeria making changes. Oftentimes, we think they don't do anything, but actually, they do. We're going to show you the people who are making a change. And of course, our children, you will be seeing them as you see them all the time. They're actually outside having a party. They have no time for all this conversation that we're having in the studio. But they are here with us as you are with us. I'm going to take a short break. When we come back from the break, we're going to launch into the conversation about just how we can support our country to conquer insurgency. Welcome back. I don't think it can be argued that one of Nigeria's most important challenges right now is conquering insurgency. 2004 was a tough year for Nigeria. I don't think in the history of the insurgency that we've had more, we had more attacks that we had in the year 2004. Unfortunately, 2014, thank you, Bob D. Unfortunately, that was also the year where 275 girls went missing. Some have returned home, been found. Most of them did not come home last year. Is this the year we will bring our girls home? I apologize. This conversation was supposed to include Major General Chris Olukolade, who is the spokesperson of the Nigerian Defense Headquarters. Is on his way. We hope that he will join us before the end of the show. His flight was delayed and is trying very much to get on the next plane to be here with us from Abuja. But I'm going to start this conversation. And finally, of course, also with us is one of the people who, within corporate Nigeria and Nigeria as a whole, organizations who are trying to help in victim support. Mr. Wiebe Boer is the CEO of the Tony Elumelu Foundation. They are doing tremendous work in many spheres of life. I think this is one of the places where they do a lot of work that we don't know. We all know about the entrepreneurship, but how's about trying to stabilize those whose lives have been disrupted by the insurgency in Nigeria and other such acts? I'm going to start with you, Bob D. And you can ask everybody whatever question you want to ask them. Where were you when the girls went missing? Bob D.
I was actually in Ghana when I heard about it, and it was shocking. And of course, these days, the first thing you do is go on Twitter to see the conversation and how people are responding. But unfortunately, what we realized was a lot of people didn't believe it. They felt it was all political. And that dragged on for about 3 weeks until the president then addressed the nation. Then we saw the gravity of what had happened. And since then, we have known no peace.
Governor, it's not just the girls who went missing. Boys were slaughtered in school. Boys and girls were killed in school. People were bombed. I know there's a lot of work being done by the federal government of Nigeria to arrest insurgency. Insurgency is a global problem. It's doubly difficult for a country like Nigeria that's dealing with so many other challenges. What do you think we should begin to focus on from 2005 in terms of conquering this huge problem?
Well, you can only comment really on matters that you have the full facts on. As Bob D has said, reactions could have been better, but I think the first thing to say is that every nation from time to time deals with its own peculiar challenges. And as you observe, it's a global problem of some sort with individual national peculiarities. I think it provides us with an opportunity as well as much as it is a challenge. I remember as a teenager that the streets of London used to be bombed almost on a regular basis in the 70s, but they overcame it. And I remember that perhaps when I was in university, streets of Tel Aviv, cafeterias were bombed almost on a daily, but they've become the experts we now call to for help. So there's an opportunity there to redevelop our own knowledge and our own ability and to rebuild our security architecture. And in that way, prepare and anticipate any type of conflicts that may arise in future. But without the fullest facts, really, it is difficult to say that this is what we should do. Some of the things that I would have liked to see happen was a clearer definition at the time of what the nature of the problem was. Because we've had an interchangeable use of words, terrorism, insurgency, and so on and so forth. Each one of them, in my own view, without any security expertise, has different consequences as to the choice of solutions that you apply to them. And whether it is the police that should go first, or whether it is the military that should go first, is a matter of choice as a consequence of the proper identification and definition of the problem. But as I said,
it's
the facts
really
are not within my control to say, look, this is what this should be, and this is the way we should go.
I'm hoping General Olukolade, Major General Olukolade can join us before the end of this show, because as you said, it's a little difficult. We need him to give us a few of the facts. However, I'm going to go quickly, and Bobby, you can interrupt me at any time. I tend to talk, you know. I'm going to go to you quickly, Mr. Boer. Do you prefer to be called Wiebe or Mr. Boer?
Dr. Boer.
Dr. Boer. You know, when people earn their doctorate, you must use it, I think. Apologies for that. Now, why Tony Elumelu Foundation does a lot of things. Zeroing in on victim support. In what way were you hoping it will make a difference? Could you tell us that?
Okay, so first of all, Sanunku Muntanen Nigeria, Barka da Sabon Shekara.
I am so jealous. You grew up in northern Nigeria, didn't you?
I grew up, born and raised in Jos, Nigeria.
Were you born and raised in Jos,
Born and raised in Jos, Nigeria. So I may not look like it, but I am Nigerian. All right.
Excellent.
So in response to your question, so as it's well known, the Tony Elumelu Foundation primarily focuses on issues of entrepreneurship. And one of the things we realized while we were working on entrepreneurship, obviously, is that there's two very different narratives in Nigeria and actually Africa as a whole. One is the narrative of economic growth, phenomenal growth, entrepreneurship, energy, innovation. And then there's the other narrative of conflict and poverty, etc. And as a foundation, we focus primarily on the growth story and driving and helping entrepreneurs take off and grow and develop. However, we realized that because of the other narrative, there were communities in Nigeria that were not part of the positive growth story. And so we decided we wanted to figure out as a foundation how we could help those communities reintegrate back into the economy so that they could actually become part of the programs we do in entrepreneurship and enjoy the benefits of Nigeria's economic growth. So through that, we set up the Elumelu Nigeria Entrepreneur Empowerment Fund, and the fund is focused exactly on what I described. And it was initially seeded with 2.5 billion naira. 1 billion was donated directly to the Victim Support Fund, but the rest of the funds are focused on other communities around Nigeria that also are in the process of getting out of conflict or out of natural disasters and so on, and integrating back into the economy. So our first pilot will actually be working with the Ogoni community in River State. And I think that's a community that has been through a lot over the last 50 years. And we want to help them move from where they are now to being fully integrated into the economy and benefit from the growth and benefit from the resources.
I'm particularly interested in the 1 billion given victim support. This is to the northeastern part of Nigeria, is it?
The Victim Support Fund was for, it was basically for the rehabilitation of communities affected by the conflict in the north.
What exactly will that speak to? What would the monies be used for?
So in that regard, we gave it to, the Victim Support Fund is actually an organization chaired by General T.Y. Danjuma. The vice chair is Fola Adiola. And so they're actually the ones who are directly working with communities. We're not working with the communities there at all. In that case, they're still in disaster, so we're not directly involved.
That's commendable, because without the resources, it becomes a challenge. You can speak to that, Governor. Because oftentimes everybody thinks, well, the government has enough money to do everything. Does government have enough money to do everything? I'm going to need you to answer that question after the break. I've just been told that I need to go on a short break, right? I'll go on a break, and when we come back, does government have money for everything? And if it doesn't, where are we going to get it? I show 2015. They tell me I keep saying 2005. It's because I have a throwback to another time. Right. Governor, does government have all the money it needs to do all the things it needs to do? And I won't use just money, I mean resources. What are the challenges?
Well, the answer to that is no, but it can happen. Ask them, how did you crash this vehicle? Why should we replace it?
Right. What I hear, unfortunately I have to wrap this conversation. I saw you getting excited about this, but what I hear is that we can actually deal with this problem as a nation.
Oh, yes.
We have an example. We can run with that example and actually make it better. That's what I hear.
I was actually going to put him on the spot.
Yes.
That a lot of young people have told us on Twitter that you are capable of being the president of Nigeria. If you were the president today, what would you do? Okay,
I'm going to take a break and let him think about that and see if we are going to go in that direction. It's the Change a Life Show 2015. One of the biggest unfortunate stories out of Africa last year was the breakout